Hi, everyone. I am so sorry for the delay. We were having a lot of expansion and renovation fun. We have a every Tuesday meeting, and it starts at 11 with our design team. Everyone's on Zoom, and usually it wraps up around noon. But today we had a lot to talk about, so please forgive me for that. I hope everybody is well today. Let's see. From a purely weekly address update. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't even say the date. Hi, my name is Michelle Gramoglia, and this is my weekly address for a Tuesday. Today is Tuesday, February 11th, 2025. Let's actually start with some calendar items, mixing it up. Tonight at 7:15 in the Pack, we have theater night with Joe and Fred, and they are featuring a staged reading of Neighbor, which was written by Joe Cosentino and featuring guest stars Deborah Moore and Ashley France. You're not going to want to miss that. On Friday from 1 to 3, we have a library open house. We had one a few months ago, and it looks like they're having another one. This is a great time to stop by in the library and find out everything that the library has to offer with the library committee. And at 2 p.m., Dave Roberts will stop by and give an update as to what renovation changes are planned for the library. On Friday at 3 p.m. in the Pack, which is we're going to be having the Aloha Strummers Ukulele Band here for a Valentine's Day sing-along. And Lucy Muller, our resident, is a member of that band. The big news for the week related to calendar items is that on Saturday from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m., our one of our task forces for the SUSCOM, which is the repair and reuse, is going to be holding their 6th repair cafe. And I'm sure lots of you have things that could use a repair, knife sharpening, a button sewn on, maybe some darning or some other things. There's lots of different opportunities to have things fixed, repaired, looked at. If you have something, certainly plan on attending that on Saturday from 11 to 3 p.m. And thank you very much to all of the volunteers that will be there. If you have a larger item that you would like to have repaired or looked at during the repair cafe, you can certainly call concierge and we can arrange for that to be at least brought down to the admin offices beforehand so that we can get it to you on Saturday for the repair cafe. Next, we don't have too much going on with contractors this week. We do thank you for all of your patience last week as we did our routine fire alarm system testing. The first round that we did of the full campus fire alarms found a couple of things that weren't exactly operating the way that they needed to be. So we had them come back, and then we did a full fire alarm test again. So you had 2 consecutive weeks of a full fire alarm test. Everything is now up and operational. And this is routine testing that we do, and thank goodness for that, because sometimes things can glitch. Certainly if we have any kind of a brownout or power interruption, these kinds of things can glitch. It's great that we test. What I would also ask of you related to that is if you did not get the alerts from us related to those fire alarms, please make sure you call concierge. Every resident and loved ones, family members, if you're on watching this stream, you are able to be added as well. So residents can be added to the alerts, and family members, loved ones can be added to the alerts. And then that way we can notify you if there's something going on, emergency on campus, something to be aware of, so on and so forth. You can call concierge and have your name and phone number added for that, your email address. Let us know your preferences as to whether you prefer text or a phone call, landline, email, the whole gamut. We listen when things come up, and there have been 2 very demonstrative things in the last couple of weeks that I'd like to thank the residents for providing feedback and also offering your assistance and services. And I want to just kind of reference those as we go forward here. The first was that we did have a snowstorm, I don't know, maybe 10 days ago or so, and the new landscape contractor that we're using who also has the snow removal contract. They were very ambitious, more ambitious than we've ever seen in 15 years, and more ambitious than Tom, had asked of them. And out they came, sort of in the middle of the night for some of you, very, very early hours for others, to clean the snow. This did not go over so well, but you all made yourselves heard. And the best part is that it worked exactly as it should have. It went through a physical plant committee, and that's exactly how things should work. In a few minutes, I'm actually going to do a big update. We had put the rumor mill back out and asked for additional suggestions because those boxes were very dried up. And you're going to see all of the opportunities that we have to kind of utilize our existing committees to get things like this done. So for those that channeled that through physical plant and we got that attended to, thank you so much. And I will encourage everyone to understand the committees that exist and how they can be of assistance to you as an advocate. The next, also on a related note, is as we have expanded the descriptions of what's going to be happening with renovations, we had initially identified a number of focus groups or task forces. I think we call them focus groups related to health and fitness, arts, performing arts, interior design, and dining, and so forth. But we have, at the hands of a resident that asked, based on inquiries that they were making, and not a full suggestion, but sort of asking us to delve into whether this was possible or not. We are going to be adding an additional focus group related to the renovation. And this one is going to be for those that have an interest in or suggestions based on your past experiences, perhaps with these kinds of projects, with logistics. And what that means is we've got certain people that are particularly interested in how the design team plans to minimize impact to residents through logistical planning. This will be, as are all of the focus groups, somewhat finite. It will be a focus group that will ask you to come together at this time or provide feedback directly to Dave Roberts. It's very important that we have a conduit for the residents to be able to feel like you have a voice in the logistical piece of this, because that's beyond the design, and this is the thing that impacts you kind of on a day-to-day basis. We are very confident, and we are paying a premium to ensure the least amount of impact as we go forward. This is why we intentionally, in part, brought together a design team from across the country that is very experienced in senior living, because they know what the challenges are, they know what the priorities are, but we want to hear you as well actively throughout this process. Dave will be able to accept 6 individuals for that focus group, and signups for that can go to concierge. You may have seen that there are gentlemen, maybe gentlewomen, in the IL corridors. That is the start of our corridor duct cleaning. This has been planned for a month or so. We initially thought they were going to be coming the 20th to start, but they were able to start early. So they have begun the periodic duct cleaning. And, they're using a variety of tools to clean out those metal ducts, make sure there's no dust in there. Those can cause issues if you ever have, God forbid, some kind of a fire or open flame. We want to make sure that those are cleaned out. And it's not really easy to filter those items like we can filter the HVAC units in your private residences. So this is good preventative maintenance kind of stuff. We have some weather coming in. There's going to be some weather tonight, and then potential for a rather large storm over the weekend, from what I understand. I always think of February as being the month where, there's just going to be weather. So we're not going to make announcements each time we're expecting something. We're hopeful that all residents are paying attention to the weather forecast. We will make announcements if transportation is canceled or we have to cancel something for any reason. But otherwise, please do make sure that you're paying attention to those weather forecasts, and please do be prepared in the event that we do have a power outage. The health center is on emergency power. IL corridors have emergency power for lighting. certain parts of the community building have emergency power, but independent living does not. So it's important for you to be prepared in case we do have a power outage. The last thing before I go to the rumor mill and the suggestion boxes is the opportunity for residents anywhere in the community to take part in a grant-funded tool to help you with phone calls. And I think about 12.5 residents so far over the last 2 weeks have taken advantage of these caption phones. There is an installer that will come as long as you have either an existing landline or a cell phone. This will work with both. And this is for people that might be challenged with hearing. You have to have a known hearing impairment and the existing landline or cell phone. But these devices come in, and as the person is speaking to you, it actually captions it and in large font puts it up on a screen for you so that you can both read and listen to what they're saying. And again, this is a cost-free opportunity for you. It's grant funded. What we are doing is we're maintaining lists of residents that are interested in this service, and then the installers tell us when they can come back. And, they bring in 10 phones or whatever, and then we schedule you. Sometimes the installations take a little bit longer than they might otherwise. So we do a rough schedule, and then we do ask for people's patience and flexibility. But if you're interested in a caption phone, please let concierge know. Okay, now to the rumor mill and the suggestion box. I am going to pick these in no particular order and let you know kind of what has come through over the last 2 weeks. The first, I'm betting this came from the rumor mill and maybe the suggestion box, but the question is, does anyone know if it is true that Siri or Alexa will soon be installed at the concierge? I am not aware of any plans for Siri or Alexa to be installed at concierge, primarily because our staff is so on top of everything. They're great. You ask them anything, they're going to be able to answer those questions. But if this is a serious request, please certainly talk to Jason. He's always looking for ways to improve services at concierge, and technology is just going to keep continuing to grow. Okay, the next is Woodland Pond has a meeting room shortage. Books are moving from print to digital. No other CCRC has a library as large as Woodland Pond's library. I recommend converting half of the library into a meeting/conference room. I don't know who this came from. As usual, these are anonymous, but what I have recommended in my side notes here is certainly please feel free to take this feedback directly to the library committee. I can tell you that they disagree. And I don't know, truthfully, what other CCRCs have. One of the things that Woodland Pond has sort of established ourselves as is we do things that make sense for our community. I've only been to a couple and frankly did not pay so much attention to their libraries, but we have a library committee. So please think about bringing that to the library committee or to Dave Roberts as our capital projects manager. I will pass it along. The next, again, I think this is a rumor mill. Expansion is to include a Trader Joe's on site at Woodland Pond. Can you imagine? We would love a Trader Joe's. But because we cannot put a Trader Joe's here on campus, maybe if it's of interest, we can make our trips to Trader Joe's more frequent, and maybe we can mix up the stores that we go to. I will talk to Jason about that. Okay, the next one's a little bit lengthy. We had some lengthy ones. Okay, rather than creating a new and unnecessary position for Jared, which is, and then it goes on to say, does Woodland Pond need an assistant dining director? Woodland Pond never had that before. Why not take that salary and hire a grant writer / outside Woodland Pond fundraiser for the expansion and renovation? There are environmental state grants available. There are also wealthy people in the Hudson Valley who would probably love a theater seat, new wing in the health center, new wing of the gym, renovated dining room, and on and on. This is suggestive of the fact that and we're going to talk more about capital campaign. This is not the venue to do that in because we're still very much in the due diligence phase, as we said in the Chanticleer last week. But it's important for the residents, at least in today's forum through this weekly address, to understand that the board has been looking at development opportunities actively since last June, including working with a number of consultants to understand what the opportunities are for things like state grants, private funding. And we are extremely fortunate to have one of the region's premier fundraising and development experts. Sally Cross is on our board. So this is certainly an area that Woodland Pond has no lack of depth on the bench now that we're looking to endeavor to take this on. So we certainly want to formalize some kind of a development function. Unfortunately, and we did talk about this with the Residents Council and the Financial Review Committee last week, the opportunity for state grants we've looked into really are not going to be applicable for on-campus renovation, much more so potentially for the expansion property, but there aren't a lot of things really available to retrofit existing campuses. There will be some, but on a very limited basis, certainly not to construct new, fun, sexy areas of the campus. Also, from a private foundation or private donor opportunity, we researched this extensively, and in speaking with both outside consultants and with Sally Cross, again, who couldn't be more well-versed in this, oftentimes those need to have a connection to the community, and they're doing it as a private gift, or they have predetermined grant opportunities. So we're not really going to qualify for a lot of that. We've looked into that as well. Whether or not we go forward with a capital campaign with residents and loved ones is yet to be determined. Regardless of what you've heard, nothing has been decided. We are in due diligence phase. There's more to come on that. But to the question of whether or not we need the assistant director of dining. Dining is the #1 area that we get complaints on this campus, whether it's in independent living or in the health center. And one of the things that we have identified is that in addition to adding the full-time dining room manager about a year and a half ago in the health center, we also need a higher level, a director or assistant director level oversight, more so for the health center. And it's really critical. So just because Woodland Pond hasn't had something before doesn't mean that it doesn't make sense to have it going forward. And because our #1 complaints campus-wide come from our dining services, that's where we feel like we need to, #1, invest in personnel and additional management opportunities. And also, as we continue to talk about phasing of renovation, this is exactly why the dining venues are the first phase of all renovation, because the dining program is what gets the most scrutiny. So we have to put the resources where we get the most feedback for opportunities. So these are great questions, and I welcome the opportunity to bring these kinds of things up. I think this one's a rumor mill one. It says, good to hear that it is okay to use soap in the hot tub. I don't know who said that, but there are some that are not taking it with them. I don't think that it is okay to use soap in the hot tub, and we should not be using our hot tub for a bathing opportunity. We do have nice showers on the decks, which I understand don't get utilized all that often, but there are showers on the decks and there are showers in the locker rooms. All of you have showers or access to showers as well. Please bathe in those locations and not in the hot tub. Okay, this next one, I'm not going to read it in detail because it has some assumptions in here and some language that I don't know necessarily needs to be brought more into the atmosphere. But ultimately the question is related to the current political environment, and it kind of boils down to, has Woodland thought about how Woodland Pond residents may be affected and quote, how to help us? And, the way that I would answer that very much has to do with my own personal philosophies and the way that I have decided to navigate and conduct myself throughout the last, I would say, 12 plus months through the campaign and where we are now. And this is what I would offer to you. Woodland Pond in many ways is protected from a lot of outside influences because we are I don't want to say a closed system, when you think about economic systems and things like that, but in some ways we are. There are certain things that will impact residents or the community that we will have to navigate related to cost of goods and things like that, but that's absolutely no different than has always happened. These kinds of questions didn't come up when all of the price gouging was happening with COVID. The supplies were crazy. Nobody could get toilet paper, and we navigated that. So we're always going to be able to navigate what comes our way. But I think what concerns me about this message here, and again, what I would offer you from how I have chosen to sort of protect my mental health and make sure that I am facing the day with as much optimism as possible, regardless of what's going on. And again, many of you know that I am a registered independent, and in the course of my voting years for national candidates, have voted equally for Democrats and Republicans. My philosophy is specific, condition-based. I don't follow a political ideology, but what I have really tried to do is avoid obtaining my news sources and my information from one place. I equally will consume the same amount of information nightly from both the New York Times, to which I have a subscription on the app on my phone, and as well Fox News. I look at the BBC every day. I spend a couple of hours every evening consuming news, reading articles, and so forth. But I have very much found that it has benefited me a great deal. And from an objectivity perspective, made the mindful decision to seek my information from opposing sources each and every day. And it has absolutely broadened my viewpoint. And if we're always getting the same information from the same sources, even though it might be a comfortable source, it doesn't necessarily allow us to bring that objectivity. So things on the surface that may seem like they're problematic may actually have more to them. And that applied to the last administration, and it applies to this administration. So I think that's what I can offer you. I'm very pragmatic. So this is kind of how I look at things. I don't know if that's going to answer or satisfy the resident that asked the question. But the one thing that we can all do is really recognize that there are two sides to every story, maybe three, maybe four. But if we always get our news and information from one source, we may not be able to really pivot and react to that in a comprehensive way. So because of the fact that, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I am the CEO of Woodland Pond, there's a great deal of responsibility both in my personal life and in my professional life. I am very averse to knee-jerk reactions and emotional reactions to things. So in order to ground myself and think about the approach to how to protect residents, how to move forward, it is very important to me to consume information from both sides and then figure out where's the middle ground here. And so I would offer that as a possible solution to at least some of your angst that you might be feeling. Or some of the joy that some of you might be feeling. We certainly know that we've got folks on every side of every position here at Woodland Pond. The next one comes from the rumor mill. And, well, I think it does, but I think it's a great idea. It says that I hear from you-know-who that the new hallway carpets will have a double yellow line down the center. Great idea, question mark? Maybe they can add stop signs at the intersections. So we're not quite going so far as to put double yellow lines down the middle of the carpets, but this is a great point. And I brought it up recently in that we are seeing that not everyone is following the rules of the road in the hallways and corridors. We have had an extensive conversation with staff to make sure that they're staying to the right, taking it slow. But this is a great reminder for everyone. And we are looking into parabolic mirrors for certain high traffic intersections. There's a lot today. Hopefully you're still with me. If not, you can catch this later. The toxic fumes and loud music from the beauty salon seem hazardous. and the door to that room should be closed at all times. I will speak to Sharon about loud music. I have not noticed it. And certainly, we've got a few people that have offices in that corridor, marketing, no one has complained. But I will just mention that to Sharon to be more mindful of that. And I am not certain that she's doing a lot of perms and things like that, but we can certainly talk about getting her an additional air filtration system in there if this is problematic to some. This is the first complaint we've gotten on this in 15 years that I can remember. That's the 4 a.m. snow removal. We already talked about that. Okay. Let's see. Housekeeping staff should dust personal objects and underneath them during their regular biweekly housekeeping of apartments and cottages. What is the point of housekeeping if nothing is dusted? So here at Woodland Pond, you'll find this to be no surprise. Not all homes are created equal, and some of you are very much collectors of many, many things, picture frames, tchotchkes, decorative items, and all of the surfaces in your homes are completely loaded with belongings. It makes it very challenging to dust. Also, not everyone is interested in having housekeeping in and doing that. To this person in particular, or if you have any of these kinds of questions about customizing and opportunities for additional housekeeping, the best person to talk to is Rob Dunn. This is a place where we don't have a committee necessarily for it, but this is a place where you go talk to Rob Dunn, let him know what you're looking for, how can we make this work, and he will be responsive and let you know what your options are, and then we can move forward. Okay, this one I'll just read it. Given what we know about health and nutrition, Woodland Pond should use salt-free soup broth, bread, and cheese, as well as sugar-free yogurt, peanut butter, cereal, and applesauce. There are a lot of opinions about what is the appropriate diet. And similar to what I said about consuming your information from multiple different sides of things to be objective, diet is one of those things that gets a lot of airtime. What's right for seniors, what's not right for seniors, what's right for humans, what's not right for humans. We do have a registered dietitian on staff. She is nearly full-time at this point, and she has been doing a series of talks on different things that are good for your health, things to avoid. So what I would recommend to this person in particular is think about looking at things from two different sides, however you choose to do that, because just as for certain people, salt or added salt is not good for their diet because they might be on a sodium restriction or something, there is also a very high risk of having low sodium. And here at Woodland Pond, we've seen more residents have negative effects, including significant altered mental status from too low of sodium. So this can be a double-edged sword. So I would recommend taking this to the dining committee, talking about ways that we can maybe enhance opportunities, provide a little bit more variety, understand how the registered dietitian is involved, and perhaps ask the registered dietitian for a meeting. Her name is Tanya Lopez, and her information is available with concierge or in the phone list. All right, this last one is very lengthy. It names names, and we're not going to do that. But I'm going to boil it down and just say that this talks to the process by which the turnover in the resident membership at the board level has been determined and approached. This person is indicating that should the outcome of the board decision in terms of which residents are brought in to replace those that are going off, select people that might be leaders of other committees, residence council, et cetera, that to this person that feels a little bit heavy-handed. And to that, what I would say is one of the things that we cannot control here at Woodland Pond, despite our, best intentions to invite and encourage participation, is we can only evaluate the people that put themselves into a position to be evaluated. So while we have 365 residents, it seems to be the same smaller proportion of residents that want to be involved in things and do things. So when that's the case, the board, when the governance committee is evaluating which residents to put on the board, they can only select from those residents that have either been nominated by a neighbor or have self-nominated. It was 8 or 9 people out of 365. The Residents Council did what they could to encourage people to put their names in the ring. We talked about it extensively. And this is really the first time we've been through this process since Ray and Dick came on the board almost 9 years ago. And there have been a number of opportunities that we have identified collectively that the governance committee will be taking up in how to improve the process perhaps for next time. But at this point, the bylaws are the bylaws, and the people that were considered for the positions were those that either, again, were self-nominated or nominated by a neighbor. If you think that the opportunities for these kinds of decision-making positions should be more widely spread in terms of committee membership, residence council, board membership, etc., I would strongly encourage you to put your own name in the ring. We would love to see a much higher percentage of those 365 residents being in, leadership positions, whether again on a committee or an interest group or whatever. But we're sort of at the mercy of what residents decide to do. So maybe at dinner, talk with your friends about a committee or an interest group, or possibly wanting to sit on the residence council next year when the nominations come up in the fall. These are great opportunities, but we have a lot of opportunity here to spread the positions a lot wider among our total population, but that is in your hands. All right, I have droned on and on today. I don't think I've done a 35-minute address in a very long time. I will not be doing an address next week. We will make a reminder in the Chanticleer. I am headed out of town. Actually, I'll be out of the office starting tomorrow. My daughter has dance nationals in Orlando, so she and I are heading down with her team, and weather be damned, I guess. I don't know. We're going to cross our fingers and hope we get there and get back, but I will be back in the office next Wednesday, and I hope you all have a great weekend and week.